Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm Matt.
And I'm Winnie.
And today we're looking at part one of an article called Knowing Your Emotions.
That's really important.
It is important to know, what you feel inside and how to deal with those feelings you have.
Yeah, especially because there are so many different types of emotions that the way you deal with each one could be very different.
That's right. Like, one that I find is very difficult to deal with is when you're feeling embarrassed. So, do you ever have situations where you're embarrassed by something?
Well, me being me, yes, there are a lot of examples of being embarrassed. But one that comes to mind was a few years ago, I had a chance to meet this celebrity. And when I went to shake his hand, my knee bumped into the table and all of their drinks and the flowers kind of spilled everywhere. And I was just frozen there in my head, I was screaming, but outside I was frozen. And the way I dealt with that emotion of embarrassment was I ran away.
Well, did you shake his hand first? Really?
I was just like, oh, and then I just ran away. So maybe that wasn't the best way to deal with that.
Right, and I think there's probably a better way to deal with that, and maybe think about that he probably doesn't care that you knocked over things, and you can look at your own feelings and think about how other people are feeling to try to judge a better way to do things.
Yeah, looking back, that probably wasn't the most graceful way to deal with embarrassment. Like you said, maybe it wasn't even that big of a deal, but that's why I guess it's really important to know about your emotions and learn how to cope with that. So it's a good thing today's article is Knowing Your Emotions Part 1.
Emotions are part of human nature. Sometimes we experience them without knowing why. We shouldn't brush those feelings aside. There are reasons for them that we need to understand. For example, when someone embarrasses you, you just laugh it off.
We're kicking off today's article, Knowing Your Emotions, Part 1.
That's right, so let's get into this article. Emotions are part of human nature. Sometimes we experience them without knowing why.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about that.
All right, so we're talking about nature, human nature, but the nature of someone or something is the characteristics, either physical or mental, that make up a certain thing or a person. You could say, oh, he's always late. It's just in his nature. So when we talk about human nature, we're talking about all of the characteristics or all of the things that make someone human.
Right. I mean, I guess that's what separates us from robots, is that we do have emotions. Continuing on, we shouldn't brush those feelings aside. And of course, when we use the term brush something aside, we're really talking about moving past something, and instead of dealing with it, we kind of brush it aside. So kind of like when you make a mess in the living room and you kind of brush it under the rug so your mom doesn't find out. So a lot of people, actually I know a lot of people, myself included sometimes, instead of dealing with something that's hard for us, we kind of just ignore it.
Just like when you were going to meet a race car driver and then you brushed it aside.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tina. 我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字跟文法重点。首先来看看单字的部分。Nature 名词，天性，本能。It's in Helen's nature to help people. Helen 有帮助人的本能。我们再来看一下文法重点。刚刚课文提到了 brush aside 无视、忽略，受词多为感受、意见或批评等等。我们来看看这个例句。Emma brushed aside the bad news and kept smiling. Emma 无视坏消息，继续微笑。接着我们回到课文当中。
There are reasons for them that we need to understand. For example, when someone embarrasses you, you just laugh it off. All right, so embarrass, we've already talked about how Winnie was embarrassed by that situation. To be embarrassed means to feel self-conscious, self-doubt, to feel shy about something. So when something happens and your face turns red and you just feel like you want to shrink into a tiny ball, that is being embarrassed. So someone embarrasses you, well, that means that someone did something or said something to cause you to feel this way.
Or in this case, I did it to myself.
Right, so you embarrassed yourself.
Yes, but instead of laughing it off, I ran away. So when you laugh off something or laugh something off, it means kind of instead of drawing attention to it, you kind of take a more relaxed approach to your reaction. So maybe in a more confident way of instead of being like, oh, that was really cringy and embarrassing, you're kind of like, oh, it happens. So it's kind of a coping mechanism or a way to cope, a way to deal with that embarrassment. So you, instead of making it a really big deal, you just laugh it off to make yourself seem more chill and relaxed.
我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字 embarrass, embarrass 动词使难堪使尴尬 Anna didn't want to embarrass her friend in front of the class. Anna 不想在全班面前让朋友难堪。文法的部分刚刚提到了 laugh off 一笑置之，这是一个可以分开的动词片语。我们来看看这个例句 Lily laughed off the bad comment.Lily 对那个坏评论一笑置之。接着我们回到课文当中。
Well, I am really excited to learn more about how we can cope with our emotions because I think there are a lot of times where I might be feeling something really intensely or strongly and I don't really know how to deal with it.
Yeah, and I think the tendency to just laugh things off without even trying to deal with those emotions or trying to, find out the cause of why you're feeling such a way. For example, it says when someone embarrasses you, you laugh it off. But if someone is purposely embarrassing you, maybe it's something that you need to deal with.
Yeah.
You can't just...
Maybe laughing it off isn't the best thing then. Yeah. Well, we'll find out more after the break.
However, deep down, you feel angry and hurt. You may not know it at that moment, but you may be able to name it later. Knowing your emotions is important. It helps you know yourself better. It also helps you solve problems and build better relationships.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about the emotions that we feel and how they are a part of human nature because everyone feels them. But understanding them and knowing why you feel these emotions is important to dealing with them in a proper way.
Yeah.
So when someone embarrasses you or you do something that embarrasses yourself, you can't just push it aside or brush it aside or sweep it under the rug, as we also might say, because you need to deal with those emotions that you're facing.
Yeah. Because if you don't deal with them, it might kind of come back later even stronger. Yeah.
I think we're going to talk about being angry in a minute. Sometimes I get, especially when I'm teaching English to children in class, sometimes I can get very angry.
Yeah.
Not often, but sometimes. And I really have to, in the moment, deal with those emotions because sometimes it's one kid in the class that's making you very angry.
Right.
But you have to deal with your emotions in order to realize it's just the one kid and you can't take out the anger on all the other kids in the class. So there's no use at shouting at an entire class of kids when it's just one kid who's misbehaving. And so you need to direct your anger
just to the
at one kid and let him understand that he or she has done something.
I feel like you have someone in mind.
that they have done something wrong. And then you need to turn back to the rest of the class and smile and be a nice teacher for them.
That's actually a really good point because I think a lot of people don't realize that just because you're dealing with an emotion, it doesn't mean it's not affecting other people. So if you don't deal with it for yourself, then it becomes kind of everyone's problem.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, so let's continue with the article. However, deep down, you feel angry and hurt. Okay, so we're talking deep down where this is somewhere that you also feel an emotion.
Yeah, when we say deep down, we mean, in someone's conscience, but maybe not what you can see. So in someone's head, they might feel this way. They might have feelings of sadness, anger, or hurt usually, but they're hiding that from from what you can see.
Right.
So while someone might be smiling, you might say deep down, they're very sad. We could even say that someone's deep down feeling an emotion to mean that they maybe aren't even aware of it themselves. They're kind of hiding that emotion from themselves because it is so deep down, so hidden within them that they don't even realize they are hurt.
Right, that's a really good point because a lot of the times maybe we're feeling sad or something and we're aware of it, and so we hide it from our friends and family because we don't want them to know that we're sad. But then you touched on another point where it's like sometimes we don't even know it ourselves, and that's completely normal.
文法的部分刚刚提到了 deep down 在内心深处，这是一个副词片语。我们来看看这个例句 Amy smiled, but deep down she was sad. Amy 微笑着，但内心深处很难过。接着我们回到课文当中。
So we also have this word hurt, and when it's used as a verb, it means to cause harm to someone. But in this case, we're using it as an adjective to mean emotionally injured or emotionally just sad. You're not really, you're affected by something in a negative way. And a lot of the times, I know I do, it's a really bad habit where I am feeling kind of stressed out or hurt, and I don't really show it. And because I think I'm, kind of saving everyone else from dealing with it too.
That's right. All right, back to the article. You may not know it at that moment, but you may be able to name it later.
Oh, okay. So this is kind of dealing with that whole, maybe it's not even something you're aware of. Maybe the emotion you're feeling, you don't even know if it has a name.
That's right. So to name something means to give it a name or a title or to put some sort of term to identify it or to say what it is.
Right.
So when we say that you might not know it now, it's something that you can't describe, you don't know exactly what it is, but when you're able to name it later, to give it a name, then you're able to say that I know what that was, or I know what that is.
And I think with the ability to name your emotions, that definitely then makes it easier for you to realize, okay, what is the cause? Why am I feeling this way? So therefore, you can kind of take away all of the factors that are causing you to feel, that type of emotion. I know when I was kind of growing after high school, I didn't really know what to name like anxiety and things like that, things that causes anxiety. And once I learned about that and really named it, learned the name for it, I think it's easier to kind of do more research on things that can cut back on those feelings.
That's right.
我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字 hurt 形容词受伤的，心灵受伤的。Jack felt hurt when his friends didn't talk to him. Jack 因为朋友不跟他说话而感到受伤。Name 动词说出辨认某事物的名称。Can you name this flower? 你能说出这朵花的名字吗？接着我们回到课文当中。
So, continuing on with the article, knowing your emotions is important. It helps you know yourself better. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, a big part of your personality, a big part of you as a person has to do with your emotions and how you feel things.
That's right. Continuing on, it also helps you solve problems and build better relationships. So as we mentioned, your emotions and how you deal with emotions affects everyone around you, so you really need to deal with those emotions and know about your own emotions to help you have better relationships with your friends and family and
Right.
coworkers and everyone around you.
Right, and no one likes a negative Nelly. So if you are interested in finding more about emotions, well, you better stay tuned for tomorrow because we've got part 2 coming up.
And we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Emotions are part of human nature. Sometimes we experience them without knowing why. We shouldn't brush those feelings aside. There are reasons for them that we need to understand. For example, when someone embarrasses you, you just laugh it off. However, deep down, you feel angry and hurt. You may not know it at that moment, but you may be able to name it later. Knowing your emotions is important. It helps you know yourself better. It also helps you solve problems and build better relationships.
我们来复习一下这一课的重点单字跟文法。单字的部分 ，nature 名词，天性、本能 ；embarrass 动词，使难堪、使尴尬 ；hurt 形容词，受伤的、心灵受伤的 ；name 动词，说出、辨认某事物的名称。接着我们来看文法的部分 ，brush aside 无视、忽略。Jessie brushed aside her boss's advice and did what she wanted. Jessie 无视她老板的建议，一意孤行。Laugh off 一笑置之。Charlie laughed off the idea that he cheated. Charlie 对于他作弊的说法一笑置之。Deep down 在内心深处。We all desire to be loved and accepted deep down. 我们每个人的内心深处都渴望被爱和被接纳。以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，那我们下一次再见喽，拜拜。
What's with that face? What are you watching?
Oh no, I'm cringing so hard at this.
Oh, I know. I can't even get through this. Why did we think that was a good idea?
We were so confident though, I swear. We thought we were absolutely hilarious.
It's so embarrassing now, but hey, at least we were having fun with that little 90s dance move you were doing.
True, we didn't really care about what anyone thought. I kind of miss those days.
Yeah, you know, me too, but these videos definitely staying as memories. I'm not showing these to anyone.
Look at that. Oh my god. Hi everyone, today's word is cringe.
That's right. Cringe is a verb that means to feel embarrassed or uncomfortable about something to the point where you're curling up.
For example, you might cringe when you think about an embarrassing memory from the past.
Exactly. Here's an example sentence. I can't help but cringe whenever someone tells a bad joke.
Or he cringes every time he hears his voice on a recording.
Oh, me too. I always cringe when I hear that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, cringe is usually a verb, but people also use it as an adjective or a noun when they're using slang.
For example, you'll hear expressions like, that was so cringe, or that moment was pure cringe.
Right. And remember, everyone has their cringe moments from time to time. So just laugh it off and move on.
And that's all for today. I'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.